Hello and welcome to YTV. I'm Raleigh Cavero.
And I'm Madison Allworth. Last week, President Salovey announced a historic gift of $250 million from alumnus Charles Johnson. This is the largest single donation in Yale's history and has nearly closed the financing gap for the colleges. $80 million more is needed in order to break ground. The new colleges were designed in Gothic style by Architecture School Dean Robert Stern and were originally slated to be completed by fall of 2015.
Basically, Gothic is the architectural style that most people associate with Yale. And it has this wonderful tradition behind it of Oxford and Cambridge, and it has a sense of being a world of gardens and courtyards in a city, which is what's so amazing about the Yale campus.
The construction was postponed when the global recession hit in 2008, and the university promised it would not break ground until it achieved its fundraising goals.
Since the news broke Tuesday, the federal government shutdown has been hitting faculty and students alike here in New Haven. Databases for NASA, the Library of Congress, and other government programs have been temporarily disabled, leaving Yaleys who rely on these for research debilitated. This also comes at a bad time for seniors who are looking to find jobs in the government sector. With application deadlines approaching and parents on their back, many students hope that this shutdown will come to an end soon.
Yale has officially dropped the trespassing charges against reporter Claudia Trevisan, a Washington, D.C.-based correspondent for O Estado de Sao Paulo. Trevisan was arrested 2 Thursdays ago after entering Woolsey Hall with the intention of interviewing Brazil's Supreme Court President Joaquim Barbosa. President Barbosa was on campus for the Global Constitutionalism Seminar sponsored by the Yale Law School.
Trevisan claims that she was arrested without cause and subjected to abusive behavior, being handcuffed, not being allowed to make a phone call, and having to urinate in the sight of male prison guards. Ricardo Gonder, the executive director of O Estado, said that the response to Trevisan's actions was disproportionate and that she was simply doing her job. However, university spokesman Tom Conroy claims that the arrest was made according to procedure because Trevisan had misrepresented herself and was attempting to enter a private meeting.
New Haven has the most densely populated downtown in New England and sees thousands of visitors per month. To accommodate that heavy traffic, the city's parking system recently saw innovations. Jen Kramer brings us an update.
If you're tired of digging for coins to feed the parking meter, then this app is for you. It's called Park Mobile, and it lets you pay for parking with your smartphone. None of that old school quarter business. Park Mobile is now in 35 states, covering about 350,000 parking spaces. Now you'll find 3,000 of these single-space meters right here in New Haven.
You'll know the service is available when you spot the green Park Mobile decal on the meter. Then you simply open the app and type in the unique space number to begin or extend your parking time.
The most convenient thing with regard to our service is the fact that we notify our customers when their parking is about to expire, and we give them the option to extend their parking. So rather than running back to the meter to fill time, they can actually do that on their smartphone app.
Park Mobile, which began in Amsterdam and expanded to the U.S. in 2008, now has over 1.5 million members nationwide. It has grown over 50% per year over the past 3 years and is doing especially well in New Haven.
In highly dense urban areas and with lots of young people, we have a much higher usage rate. We measure things in terms of the adoption of how many transactions are occurring in a particular footprint. For example, here in New Haven, it's one of our fastest growing cities with regard to the size of the footprints. The volume is growing tremendously. It's been over 100% growth week over week since we deployed in July.
With a young target demographic, Park Mobile engages heavily with social media. It has about 120,000 Twitter followers and over 30,000 fans on Facebook.
In the university setting especially, I'm not sure that anyone goes to college now without a smartphone. tied to their hip. So we feel that once we have folks that are enrolled in our service at that age and then move on to graduation and into the larger communities, that they will continue to utilize the Park Mobile app anywhere they go.
Park Mobile is currently focused on parking, but with the growing interest in mobile payment technology, it may soon explore new platforms for mobile payment. For YTV, this is Jen Kramer with Nicole Nerea. Back to you.
And a shift in fundraising for the mayoral race might be on the horizon. Candidate Justin Ellicker's donation numbers trailed behind Harp's during the Democratic primary. However, less than 2 weeks after the September 10th primary, Ellicker has raised over $50,000, more than doubling his $25,000 goal.
Ellicker's fundraising consultant, Rafi Bildner, attributed the flood of donations to the smaller candidate pool and to his heightened concentration as the election approaches.
This fall marks the 7th year of the Citizens Police Academy program. The New Haven Police Department holds a series of workshops to facilitate understanding and build relationships with the community every year. So what impact does this initiative have for students here at Yale? We go to Annalise Morello and Celine Tien for more. Annalise?
Thanks, guys. This Tuesday brings the start of the annual Citizens Police Academy program. Through classroom training and hands-on activities, the Yale University Police Department introduces community members to the inner workings of the Yale Police in a 6-week session.
In an interview with the YDN this September, Lieutenant Narcisse said, "The goal of the program is to raise awareness and promote an understanding of the types of service the police department provides at Yale, as well as to foster partnerships between the YPD and the community." Fraternities on campus, such as SAE, have already taken steps to involve themselves in the movement towards bettering the relationship between local law enforcement and the Yale community.
The discussions that I've had with a few of the officers from the police department, it's really to promote partnership through or between the community and the police department, essentially by fostering a greater understanding amongst members of the community about the operations, responsibilities, and capabilities of the police department.
Of course, so Citizens Police Academy is essentially a weekly seminar that runs for a couple hours that gives the Yale community a rundown of essentially what the Yale Police Department does. We did a history of the Yale Police, which was really interesting. They show us the bomb squad. The FBI comes in and gives us a breakdown of how the Yale Police interacts with them. Talk about their training and essentially what all the roles of the Yale Police Department are on the Yale campus and in the greater New Haven area.
Members of SAE are continuing their participation in the Citizens Police Academy to foster a better relationship with the student body, law enforcement, and the surrounding community.
I think there'll be some very applicable lessons to everything that we do. I know one of the principal things, or one of the things that we end up receiving the most attention for are social events and parties that we might throw, and I think this academy program will enable me to have a better understanding of what the expectations of the police department and other members of the community are for us as responsible hosts, so that we can ensure the safety and well-being, but also the enjoyment of all of our guests.
I think the biggest problem with frat parties that happen is that there's not a good communication channel for fraternity leaders to talk with police officers and the police department about parties they're throwing. So what ends up happening is the police isn't aware of necessarily what the party is or what's going on. They get a noise complaint, they get a second noise complaint, and they just come and shut it down. Now, as a result of the Citizens Police Academy, we've been able to build a pretty good rapport with a bunch of the police officers and actually have a direct line to call them right before we're having a party, letting them know, telling them what all our policies towards underage drinking will be, whether that means writing X's on hands or otherwise, so that they're aware that we're throwing the party and aware that we're doing it responsibly.
The Citizens Police Academy is open to New Haven residents of at least 18 years of age and has received exceptional feedback from previous Academy participants.
I mean, there's no one that wouldn't stand to benefit from it.
This program is set to meet on Tuesdays from 6 to 8:30 p.m., October 8th through November 12th at the Yale University Police Department. This has been Annalise Morello and Celine Tien for YTV. Back to you.
The police department will hold the first workshop for this year's academy on Tuesday. For more information on the program, you can visit Yale's public safety website.
On Tuesday, the local nonprofit Data Haven released its comprehensive report and analysis titled Community Index 2013. The purpose of the report is to highlight discrepancies within our community in order to spark change. In general, the report's findings show that inequality manifested in literacy, obesity, and poverty rates is dramatically higher in New Haven than in the 366 other U.S. metro areas surveyed. New Haven's income distribution is more unequal than 82% of the areas surveyed. In terms of obesity, 16% of high-income individuals are considered obese, while over 43% of low-income individuals fit in that category. Variation is also seen in reading levels. 58% of children from high-income families are reading at national standard. 21% of children from medium income are reading at that standard, while only 17% of students from low-income families meet national standard.
Yale student athletes already have a lot on their plates, but one group of students takes on even more responsibility outside the gym. The Kibben Leadership Academy, formed in 2005, seeks to develop a select group of student athletes into stronger leaders both on and off the field. We go to Georgiana for more on this story.
Thanks, guys. The program, named after the legendary men's swim coach Robert Kibben, takes place over the course of 2 years and includes sophomore and junior student athletes with a demonstrated interest in leadership.
There's two groups. We have emerging leaders and veteran leaders. Emerging leaders are sophomores, so once you're a sophomore, you can sign up to be an emerging leader. Then you can go on to be a veteran leader, which is your junior and senior year.
Every year, the success of the program attracts new sophomore applicants from virtually every team at Yale. The Academy allows athletes from all sports to gather and collaborate under one roof.
I like meeting all the athletes from different sports in 1 year, so that'd be really nice to get out there too.
The Academy utilizes hands-on activities and in-depth group discussions to enhance students' problem-solving strategies and develop useful techniques for working in a team setting.
We had to form a perfect square with a string, everybody being blindfolded though, so you had to communicate okay, this person's a corner, you guys have to go here. And it's actually really hard to make a square with everybody being blindfolded. So that was a really fun activity we did, and we do a lot of hands-on activities like that.
The program, directed by Amy Backus, works to ensure that successful leadership strategies are put to use. The founders of the program designed it based on the leadership model developed by Jeff Jansen, who collaborated with Yale directly to help start the Academy.
Well, Jeff Jansen has written a couple of books, I believe, but the one is the Team Captain's Manual. It has a lot to do with leading yourself first before you can lead others. So that's kind of what we talk about with the sophomores, is first you lead yourself, and then you become a more vocal leader your junior and senior year.
For the program's participants and leaders, nothing is more gratifying than seeing their lessons and techniques applied in real-life situations.
The stoplight method was just a great way to recognize that and recognize hey, I'm going to Yale, let me get back into the green, and point out to your teammate, hey, you know what, I think you're in the red right now, how can I help you get back in the green?
It was very gratifying because here was a situation where these abstract concepts actually came into play for a team.
But for athletes in particular, leadership experience proves vital in building team unity.
A lot of teams we only have one captain rule, but it's not just one leader on the team. You have to put different leaders in different aspects.
Being that I'm going to be a senior next year, how I take that leadership role, and if it's not just talking all the time to the freshmen, if it's just being first to show them how to do something, helping them in the classroom aspect if they have any advice.
Regardless of whether you're a captain or not, you can benefit from learning about leadership.
The student athletes participating in the Kibben Leadership Academy work through multiple sessions every semester to ensure that Yale's teams are never lacking in strong leadership. This has been Georgiana Wagman for YTV. Back to you.
Kibben Leadership Academy is in full swing for the school year, so it is no longer accepting applications. However, interested student athletes should keep their eyes open for future information about how to get involved.
This year, the Faculty Committee on Athletics created the Faculty Liaison program, which paired each varsity team with a faculty member in order to bridge the gap between Yale Athletics elites and the wider community. We take you to Zena Keita for more. Zena?
Over time, the role of student-athletes on college campuses has been equated to that of the stereotypical jock. This means your class skippers, your gut takers, and your silent section participators. The Faculty Liaison program is working hard to dispel this stigma and to assist athletes be proven as integral members of the Yale community through support, advocacy, and respect.
I've always liked athletics. I found immediately when I became master here at Silliman that I was very attracted to my athletes and to intramurals and to all things having to do with sports.
There is, in some cases, the impression that faculty don't support them, and that's very unfortunate because I think they're some of the most multi-dimensional and talented students that we have on campus.
And so, the Faculty Committee on Athletics, a pre-existing board of faculty and administration, borrowed from Princeton's model in which they paired up teams with individual faculty members.
Just knowing that there are faculty out there that support athletics, I think, is a big deal.
You have this person that is a master or dean that understands what you're going through, supports you, and is willing to sort of back you up or be there for support, be there to help you figure out how to navigate.
Athletes believe that the support of their community makes a big difference in the Yale experience as students and as competitors.
I think it's been really important because when faculty come to games or when they see you after practice and they ask how you're doing, it really builds a sense of community here and it makes you feel like everyone supports you.
Yeah, I think it also builds a support network just because as athletes you're already time consumed. So with academics and athletics you need that support network.
The women's varsity basketball team has already reaped the benefits of their faculty liaison, Master Krause.
I love being in the huddle and listening to the coach. To me, as somebody who's a faculty member in the classroom all the time, to me that's the athletic equivalent of teaching.
The women's varsity lacrosse team, who has just been paired with their peer liaison, Master Hudak, hopes to find as much success with the program as well.
He said that we can email him about anything. He said, freshmen, if you're struggling to transition, you can reach out to me. And seniors, if you're trying to balance finding a job with academics and athletics, you can reach out to me for extra support. And to have him on top of your coaches and on top of your deans, it's a nice resource.
I hope to go to games. I hope that they let me sit on the bench and cheer the team on. And I think the students would like that.
For athletes today, although the jock stereotype may remain, it is also paired with an increasing awareness for the difficulty and demand of the collegiate athlete lifestyle.
Sometimes your friends, they don't really get it, but they still respect it.
Any friend of a varsity athlete, anybody like me who's now been lucky enough to sit on the bench, go to practice, have to have a lot of respect for that. It's hard work.
The program is an evolving work in progress, but it is definitely a fight worth fighting, as it is key to the health and happiness for many Yale Bulldogs. Hopefully, the fostering of support for athletes on campus will lead to even more wins and some championship rings.
Thanks, Zena. You certainly can't ask for a better ally than a Yale faculty member.
Last week, former architecture correspondent Yanan Wang sat down with School of Architecture Dean Robert Stern, head of the New York-based firm RAMSA. Stern is the brain behind such iconic structures as the Bush Presidential Library and 15 Central Park West. Most importantly for Yaleys, his firm designed the 2 new residential colleges. Stern discussed his life, career, and his secrets on how to make it in the architecture industry. Here are some highlights from that interview.
Hi, I'm Yanan Wang, and I've been covering the School of Architecture for the past year. Today we have with us Robert A.M. Stern, the Dean of the Architecture School and the founder of New York-based firm Robert A.M. Stern Architects, also known as RAMSA. Over the course of his 47-year career, Dean Stern has been called America's preeminent traditionalist architect, the Swade Loford Sultan of suburban retrotexture, and the Ralph Lauren of architecture. He has designed such monuments as the Disney feature animation build 15 Central Park West and recently the George W. Bush Presidential Library. Around the School of Architecture, Dean Stern is known for his quick wit and equally sharp style. A student once told me that he wouldn't dare to be seen by Dean Stern without a business suit on. Thank you so much for being with us today, Dean Stern.
Thanks, Yanel. Nice to see you.
So you teach a lot of aspiring architects. Can you talk to our viewers about when you decided that you really wanted to be an architect?
I don't know, somewhere by the time I was 12 or 13 or 14 years of age, I thought that might be what I wanted to do. I thought that would be what I wanted to do. And I didn't grow up in an atmosphere where architecture was an everyday word, but all around the city of New York, where I did grow up, particularly in Manhattan, there was an awful lot of exciting stuff happening just after the Second World War was behind us. And the United Nations was being built in Weaver House, and I took notice of those buildings, and I thought, that's something really interesting.
So what are some tips or pieces of advice that you would give to people striving to be architects? What are some of the most important things that they need to know about the industry?
Well, first of all, students, if I'm addressing, say, Yale undergraduates or undergraduates, whoever, wherever they might see it, the first and most important thing is to get as good an education as you can and not to be a specialist, a narrow specialist. I myself majored in American history, which I think was a very interesting background, and I took lots of courses in English and art history and sociology and other things as an undergraduate. So I think that's very important. I also think before going to architecture school, it's very good for people coming out of a college like Yale to maybe take a year or two and work in a professional office, get a feeling for the profession as it really is practiced, so that the cobwebs of mist are taken away from their eyes and they have the reality. People should be realistic about the profession of architecture. It can be glamorous. You do wonderful buildings and wonderful places, meet wonderful people. It's not the most rewarding profession. It's not an easy ticket to riches. For all the architects who you know by name, by reputation, there are hundreds and hundreds more who are contributing to that work and who do fabulous work and satisfying work, but don't have their names on the door. So you have to be recognized that in advance. But if you want to do it, you should do it. I think it's interesting, the word profession. Architecture is a profession, and when you profess something, it's got a slightly misty or religious quality to it. You have to take it on as something to make a commitment to.
Talking about your own career, I listed some buildings that you're well known for having designed, but what are some of your own personal favorite projects?
No favorites. You shouldn't have favorites when you're an architect. It's like being a parent. You shouldn't have favorite children. And if you have them, keep it to yourself. And we have quite a lot of work in Asia, especially in China. New community, like a urban village at the edge of one of the major cities, and some projects right in the center, where we're trying to bring a sense of urbanism that once existed in China, kind of urbanism, and still prevails in the United States and in Europe, but which has been legislated out because of the Soviet influence, because of a very bureaucratic planning process in China. It's hard to achieve, so we struggle very hard to put back streets, to create intimate places, and meet the density requirements of these new towns, which are part of the government's policy of bringing people from the country into the cities.
So I mentioned that you've been called the Ralph Lauren of architecture. Who would be the Robert A.M. Stern of fashion?
I'd have to say Ralph Lauren. Funnily enough, I've only met Ralph Lauren once.
Oh, okay.
When he very generously endowed a visiting professorship here in the school in honor of Charles Wathmey, who was his great friend.
So it was a compliment to you when you heard that?
I'm not sure it was given to me as a compliment, but I took it as a compliment.
All right. So this was Yanan Wang reporting for YTV. Back to you.
Thanks, Yanan. Dean Stern will sit on a committee to reassess the design of the 2 new residential colleges in light of the historic donation last week.
And that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching YTV.
Join us next Sunday at 5 p.m. for a special show honoring President Salovey's inauguration, because it's your Yale, your week, and your news.